stay quiet, don't make anyone uncomfortable, assimilate. Those were my unspoken lessons growing up. And as Asian Americans, yes, we have faced our own discrimination and oppression. And even with the rise of these xenophobic acts of violence that are happening toward our community because of this pandemic, we still don't face the same racism as Black people do. In no way am I minimizing our struggles or our ancestors' struggles, and knowing that history is essential and helps to inform us. Yet, without knowing and understanding the history and struggles of others, particularly the Black community, how are we supposed to talk about social justice for our own community? With everything going on in the world, it's time for solidarity with our Black, Indigenous, people of color communities. This country has a history of pitting Asian and Black communities against each other. Take a look at the model minority stereotype. That myth was created to divide us, to domesticate us, to condition us with anti-Blackness beliefs, to make us see the supremacy of whiteness. And whether they realize it or not, a lot of people in our community, they bought into that. They buy into that. And I've even seen some people view it as a source of pride, almost, because, I don't know, maybe it means they've assimilated successfully. I can only speak to my own personal experiences and observations as a member of the Filipinx diaspora. And I think much of that willing acceptance to exemplify that model minority myth comes from a colonized mind. And Filipinos in particular were indoctrinated into that mentality back in the Philippines way before they emigrated here to the States. And that mentality was further reinforced as they assimilated into American culture, which they then passed on to their children. And that sets a dangerous precedent for us. That makes us think we are separate from other communities of color, and it furthers the division. I get asked, where are you from? Quite a bit. And that assumption that I'm not from here will always be present because I am Asian, and I will always be seen as other, despite the fact that I was born and raised in California. Yet my experience as an other is still not the same as those who experience suppression and violence because they happen to have more melanin than I do. I live with the privilege of not being automatically perceived as a threat. The system isn't keeping us safe. The system we live in values goods and services over human life. People are, they're so concerned about all the property damage that they're watching on the news and on their Facebook feeds, and they're angry at the people that are rioting and doing all of this, and it's okay to be angry. Instead of directing your anger solely at the rioters, maybe turn to the government and ask, how did it get this far? What are you doing to quell this, and what have you done to make their lives better so they didn't feel the need to do this just to be heard? I'm all about nonviolent protest as a way to show your desire for change. But if that tactic repeatedly, and I mean repeatedly, falls flat, what are you supposed to do? How many times are you supposed to politely ask, hey, could you please stop killing us? Don't get me wrong, I don't want there to be looting and property damage, and I also don't want to have a protest be a requirement before a man, a cop no less, is sent to jail for kneeling on someone's neck until they died. And yes, it is exasperating as fuck to see that one of those cops standing by was Asian. All these riots and protests that are happening across our country is just... truth be told, this moment in time will be settled with insurance claims. All that damage to property, that can be fixed. Can we say the same for all of those Black lives lost? My hope is that we all recognize and empathize with the human commonalities that we all share. And we should not reserve our empathy just for those who share our same ethnicity. So yes, Black lives matter. And supporting Black lives doesn't negate all that we as Asians have gone through. It should, in fact, solidify our plight with them. Solidarity is the key to rooting out all racist oppression. We should stand up with them. We should stand up for them. And we need to stand up for each other. We have to.